Retro Future.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Tankard Lexicon, and welcome to this new episode of the Builder's Beginner's Guide. Yes, we're really getting into the whole writing fiction territory, aren't we? Oh well. Today we'll be talking about world building. Probably one of the most used yet often misunderstood words in the writing sphere. But it sounds grand, doesn't it? World building. Say it with me. World building. The godlike act of bringing forth a universe from one's imagination. And that is what so many think about. Detailed settings like those of Game of Thrones or Star Wars. Settings which have their own wikis dedicated to their histories, races, etc. People making hour-long video essays on their backgrounds, and so on. But the veneration of these fictional worlds have given fans and aspiring writers alike the illusion all of these facts are intended and not, as is usually the case, made up as the creators went along. And that has created pitfalls for many aspiring writers that they never climb out of. An act of creative suicide that I call building a world. I should probably call it something like world design or something similar, but that is what we're gonna roll with for now. There are so many elements that affect how fictional worlds are created, and many, if not most, of what we call lore was not intended from the outset. So many things that are now considered canon were often necessary, or even more dramatic, born from necessity. Especially when it's set in a visual medium. This is how the transporters of Star Wars were created. No budget for filming starship models? No problem. Here are some cheap film and sound effects and a reusable set. The same happened for many genre tropes, like those set by Blade Runner for Cyberpunk. Does a model city look like Christmas decorations brought from Walmart? Just make it dark, add some smoke, rain, cheap neon lights, and there you go. That's the problem with all these clean and sterile 3D environments in movies these days. There is no grit, no improvisation, which has made the noir film so special. Hell, even scrapyards and the like look like those have been arranged by interior decorators. They just don't look lived in. Not to mention they use similar lighting, textures. I love the movie Alita and its amazing animation, but its city looks like a rustic tourist trap compared to the hellhole that it was in the manga. But those are the visuals, Mr. Lexicon. Surely none of these goes for writing. Well, I would have to disagree with you there. And no, I'm not talking about word count. In this series of vlogs, yes, a series, I want to go through the process of world building. But first, what are we talking about when I say world building? Those who watch my videos on Radio Retro Future probably know this already, but I'll repeat it once more for those who are new here. There is a difference between building worlds and world building. Why is this important? Once somebody asked me for an opinion on the world they were creating. A steampunkish city set in the middle of nowhere. It had this extensive history. It would contain various cults and have these massive factories where laborers were being exploited because, of course, and lots of clockwork. I don't remember the details because, let's face it, it's like hearing about somebody's vacation to a spring resort. I'm sure the weather was nice, the beach was wonderful, and the drinks were great, but I don't care. Let alone if it's a fictional resort that I'll never be able to visit. No matter how expensive the history of the place, why should I care if I cannot connect with it? So I asked him, imagine I'm a character who wakes up in your city. What would the room I slept in look like? And no answer. Okay, what if I need groceries? Where do I go? No answer. And the most terrible thing about it was, he had a very interesting experience in his daily life I'd rather hear about than his fictional world. Another example, I was asked to make a video about Guns of Icarus, a multiplayer game about steampunk airships. At the time, I wanted to make a lore video on various steampunk properties, but I lacked the manpower to do so. Research is just one of those issues. The other one is to combine all these facts into a cohesive story that people will actually care about. That excites them, that makes them want to wonder how it ends. The problem, the world building had to be based on the gameplay. Yeah, the creators sent me documents containing lore, none of which is contained in the game, and it did not tell me anything about characters, economy, daily life, how wars are fought, etc., etc. It contained stories from its world's mythology. Riveting stuff. Oh, the basic concept on the factions. Blurbs, essentially. Ideas that were never explored. I nearly quit the project because I had to make everything up. I had to think of the characters, friends and foes, their motivations, the context of war and its politics. We're all pretty proud of the result, I'll tell you that much. It's probably one of our best videos, and it barely got any views, of course. Anyway, the problem was not that they had done any work on the world. The problem was that they did too much and lost sight of why people love fictional worlds and settings to begin with. Relatable characters. Characters we want to learn more about. Characters we want to be like. Characters we want to see succeed. This world happens to be the place where those events happen. Imagine Star Wars without Luke Skywalker. You wouldn't have Star Wars, would you? Luke is the driver of the story. We follow him and his friends on his quest to defeat the Empire and bring balance to the Force. And he needs his friends. He needs their help. It's not like Rey from the sequels, who can do anything by herself. And even worse, none of the other characters can do anything without her. Oh, so they say. Point is, the Star Wars universe is not special. It's the characters that make it special. You could have replaced the spaceship with fantastical sailboats, called the Sith the Flubberjabs, the Force called the Swords, and still tell the same story. Star Wars is not written to be science fiction after all, but that's a discussion for another time. But if building the world is not the same as world building, what is it? Imagine, if you will, standing in a street of a fantastical city. There are non-human creatures all around going on their daily business. Then you nearly get run over by a baboon riding his tricycle to work with a paper bag suspended from his steering wheel that contains his gluten-free lunch. Some delinquent dwarves are shaking down a troll kebab store owner. Some peasant Vulcans are admiring the storefront displaying the latest in mud-encrusted filthy peasant wear. This, to me, is an example of world building. The act of describing characters interacting with the world around them. These are examples of daily life and interactions that characters experience daily, like a troll owning a kebab store. Myths, the history of global politics, on the other hand, they do not get in the way of a character getting groceries. Polio does. Shortages, not having money, street violence. Those are the things a character might have to deal with when walking on the streets. Even if you don't know anything about this world, while you're reading, you wonder, what the hell? Baboons on tricycles? Describing the strange as it happens is much more powerful than writing a 10-page essay explaining how the baboon got there in the first place. It's a fact now. Cockhole baboons on tricycles, and nothing you'll write from now on can convince the reader that baboons act any other way. Because this is what the characters see and interact with. Past events in that world tend not to be one of those. Unless time travel is involved or something. A character is interacting with it by asking the question and listening to the answer. Actions, interactions, motivations that drive the plot forward, tell us more about a setting than any hour-long video essay. And that is the pitfall. World building is a tool, a way to make people care about your world. Building the world can help with that. For example, why do people dress the way they do, fight wars the way they do, etc. But building a world is often treated as a goal into itself because of all these essays and lore videos. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy a well-told explanation of how a world works, but with that I would like to know, why should I care? I hope this explains what I mean with world building and building worlds. I should probably start calling it world design, setting design. Let me know what you think. Meanwhile, I've written a blog discussing the cornerstone on my theories on world building. Sentence construction. I'm sure you are on the edge of your seats. But if you cannot write a decent sentence, you cannot world build. It is that simple. But because it's such a technical story, I'll include a link down below in the description so you can check it out in your own time. If you find these videos helpful, please check out our new store page for unique offers on ebooks and signed copies of our publications. Alright, before we continue, I'm sorry to interrupt this broadcast, but I have an announcement for the people who enjoy our content. You might have noticed these videos have gotten an artistic upgrade. We are currently investing in various artists in order to bring you better content, including upgrading the visuals of our Association of Ishtar videos. However, in order to do that we need funding, and monetization is becoming ever more important to keep the lights on here at Radio Retro Future. Therefore, we are negotiating with our friends at Subgenres, a streaming service to create pay-per-view content. These are going to be our Association of Ishtar videos, because I need to pay artists, etc. Long story short, it's likely that the Association of Ishtar video currently on the site will be removed from this channel in the near future and will become patron-only content, or for those people who watch the Subgenre streaming service. Now on with the credits. And also, we have some very interesting things in the work when it comes to merchandise, so keep an eye out for that. Please check out our support section on www.associationofishtar.com and get some unique rewards to boot, like coloring plates and desktop backgrounds. Just for $2 a month, you would help us greatly and get some awesome patron-only content to boot, like free ebooks. And if you would like to meet other history and steampunk enthusiasts, join our Discord. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I am gonna bid you adieu. And as always, make things your way.